good afternoon. Welcome to January 2021 and the first Faculty Senate meeting of the calendar year. According to our atomic clock, synchronized with some great gem somewhere in the mountains outside of Fort Collins, it is time to begin. We have a very busy agenda today and a lot ahead of us. So I welcome you and call this meeting to order. First, I'll announce the alternates. Okay, Richard Kime for Kevin Ringelman, Heather Kirk-Ballard for Lauren Lazaro, Joan King for Karanish Ariana, Senlin Chen for John Martinez, Robert Hogan for Dan Tyrone, Faith Corey for Robert Newman, Chinyang Wong for Senjung Park, Robert Cook for Doug Gilman, Ian Neglescu for Mara Hassan, Senlin Chen for John Martinez, apologies, that was twice, Michael Bibler for Catherine Henninger, Elizabeth Carter for William Monroe, and Musajab Mirza for Kirk Ryan. Are there any other alternates to record?
Mandy, it's the opposite. I am the one who's representing Ian, not the opposite.
Got it. Okay, so noted. We will correct that in a minute. Any others? All right then, we will take roll by means of Zoom login. We have a number of guests today, so I will ask that you message Miss Susanna and we'll call on you to introduce yourself. Right, well, first up, I'll introduce a man who needs no introduction, and that is Chairperson Dampf, who is joining us today for the Board of Supervisors. I also see that our president, Tom Galligan, is on the line, and we appreciate his presence as well. The Provost, Stacey Haney, is present with us, and the Senior Vice Provost, Jane Cassidy. All right, and with that start, can you, let's see, we have Ryan Landry from Academic Affairs, Tara Houston for the School of Theater, Professor Pam Blanchard from the LSU School of Education, Arndt van Gemert from HSE, sorry, things are flying by, Zach Tompkins, we have another alternate for John Miles. And Ms. Alexandra Cason, who is a graduate student, I believe. And Tim Slack, Professor of Sociology. Sarah Keller, College of Humanities and Social Sciences. All right, are there any more guests to announce? All right, well, apologies if I missed you. Oh, yes, Professor Hatfield is here. All right, and Michael Bibler, Associate Professor of English as a proxy for Catherine Henninger, and Emily Hatfield, Assistant to the Provost. Okay, well, it looks like the ticker tape has come to a slight pause, so we'll move on with our agenda. First up, we have 3 registered public comments on the resolution 20-05, confronting anti-blackness by ensuring undergraduate access to anti-racist curricular offering. First up on the public comment is Professor Slack. For Professor Slack, you have 3 minutes, sir. Can you unmute yourself or shall we?
I believe I'm unmuted.
Yeah, now you are. Yes, you are.
All right. Well, good afternoon, and let me begin by thanking my colleagues in the Faculty Senate for the opportunity to speak this afternoon regarding the proposed AAAS 2000 resolution. Let me also say I have great sympathy for the motivations of my colleagues who proposed the resolution. I strongly support efforts to make diversity, equity, and inclusion principles a core component of our curriculum. Nonetheless, I'm here today to ask that you not vote for the resolution as proposed, and please consider supporting a competing resolution that I believe will be coming forward. And allow me to explain why. When the resolution was read initially, it was clear to many of us what was being proposed, but our question, of course, was how it would be implemented. The answer was made clear in an article that was published in The Advocate on Christmas Eve. In that article, Provost Haney stated, if the faculty approved this requirement, then it would satisfy one of the social sciences. This is a problem. The general education curriculum at LSU requires that all students take 6 credit hours in the social and behavioral sciences, along with 3 credits in the arts and 9 credits in each of the natural sciences and humanities. In other words, if this resolution is adopted as proposed, 50% of the exposure to the social and behavioral sciences for the average LSU student would be mandated to come from AAAS 2000. The residual category then, from which students would select only one course, would be made up of the major disciplines that in fact constitute the core of the social and behavioral sciences: economics, psychology, political science, anthropology, and sociology. Put simply, the curricular structure proposed would fundamentally misrepresent the academic landscape of the social sciences to our students. It would also reduce our students' exposure to the major disciplines that grapple with critical, analytical, data-driven thinking about various dimensions of social inequality, including race. I urge you to support, as I understand it, there's going to be a competing resolution that comes forward, and I urge you to consider that. And let me reiterate that the principles, as far as I'm concerned, the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion are really critical, but we need to think about how we incorporate them in a manner that fits better with our existing curriculum. These are principles I strongly support, but we need an open and honest deliberative process that brings together all the stakeholder groups and thoroughly vets the pros and cons of alternative approaches so we can do our best to get this right. After all, you're not just voting today on whether or not to require a single course. You are voting on whether or not to restructure the general education curriculum at LSU. Again, diversity, equity, and inclusion issues principles are ones that I value deeply, but we need to engage a process to really work this through. I thank you for your time and yield the floor.
We have a public comment from Professor Stuart Irvine. Professor Irvine, please unmute yourself. You're still muted.
My name is Stuart Irvine. I'm a faculty member in religious studies. I'm speaking only for myself here, not for my department. Resolution 25 concerns anti-Black racism. It comes close, I think, to setting the record for the number of whereas clauses in a faculty senate resolution. I happen to sympathize with all of them. I'm convinced that anti-Black racism is the central problem in American culture. And I'm open to the idea that a college education should address this problem in some way. But how? How exactly? The resolution calls for making a single course, AAAS 2000, a requirement for every undergraduate student. There are 28,000 of them. I figure if the course continues to be offered in sections of 40 students each, AAAS would have to offer 70 sections of the course every semester. That would be a huge increase over the 2 or 3 sections currently taught. How will AAAS be able to meet the student demand? I imagine that many new instructors would have to be hired for the course. And I fear that the cost would be so high that little money would be left over to fill faculty vacancies in English or math or chemistry or any of the other departments. Of course, the high cost could be avoided by offering a small number of large sections of the course with 200 or 300, even 400 students in each. But then, what sort of course would AAAS 2000 be? Could it still have much writing, much class discussion, much interaction between students and professor? Could it still impart to students an empathetic understanding of the African American experience? Could it instill in them a belief that Black Lives Matter? Here's the bottom line. The Faculty Senate should not approve Resolution 25 without a better idea of what the course actually will look like and what the cost will be. The practical implementation of the new requirement is a faculty matter. Don't leave it to the administration. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor Irvine. Next up, we have a public comment, again, on the same topic by Ms. Alexandra Quezon. I believe she is a doctoral candidate in HSC. I apologize if I got that wrong. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you for allowing me to share this public comment today. My name is Alexandra Chasen, and I am in fact a doctoral candidate in the Department of English. And I am here to represent LSU's LGBTQ+ faculty and staff caucus. And we are an organization that seeks to serve the needs of LGBTQ+ employees by confronting issues relevant to our community that in turn concern our larger campus community. The caucus wishes to express our support for the resolution confronting anti-Blackness by ensuring undergraduate access to anti-racist curricular offerings. We strongly feel that the addition of this curriculum requirement will enhance the overall academic experience and make way for meaningful conversations and learning opportunities for undergraduate students. In the wake of the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests, LSU publicly pledged its commitment to become a champion of inclusivity, diversity, and equity. This resolution would augment those efforts and will demonstrate a concrete step towards fulfilling that promise. As the flagship university for the state of Louisiana, it is our duty to lead by example. The addition of AAAS 2000 as a required course will signal to our in-state and peer institutions that LSU is actively combating anti-Blackness in the classroom. Similarly, it will demonstrate to the Black members of our campus community that our commitment to this community is more than a statement, it is an action. It is impossible to become an anti-racist institution if anti-racism work is not part of the core curriculum, nor is it possible to support LGBTQ+ people without an unwavering commitment to anti-racism. Because many members of our community are Black, anti-Blackness is by definition an LGBTQ+ issue. The LGBTQ+ faculty and staff caucus implore our colleagues in the LSU Faculty Senate to support this resolution and live up to the stated values and ideals of our institution. This statement is signed by the Executive Committee of the LGBTQ+ Faculty and Staff Caucus, which includes Bill Matera, S.L. Ziegler, Samantha Baldridge, Lori Braden, and me. It is further co-signed by 2 members of the caucus's Advocacy Committee, Sydney Epps and S.K. Grohl. And thank you to Professors Wiley and Cheney for sponsoring this resolution. And thanks to you all for your time this afternoon. I yield the floor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chason. Well done. We appreciate all the public comments and welcome them and encourage everyone, well, anyone who wishes to make a public comment to register with us ahead of the meeting. And as long as it is a topic on the agenda, you are more than welcome to make a public comment. And we thank the three of you who have done that today. All right, next up, the consideration of the November 18, 2020 minutes. Seems like a lifetime ago, but indeed here they are. Barring any significant change, a serious error, and only small typographical, grammatical, or mistakes related to the presence at the meeting or alternates or proxies, please, may I hear a motion to accept the minutes with minor modifications as needed? First.
Second.
Okay. All right. Any opposed to accepting the minutes, again, with any minor modifications that become identified? Okay, hearing and seeing none, none opposed, we will accept the minutes. Please, if there are any minor modifications, do not hesitate to reach out directly to me and Ms. Knoll. All right, I am ceding to the floor, or otherwise delaying my president's report for Mr. Robert Dampf, who is the chairperson of the Board of Supervisors. He is a partner in the Perry Dampf Dispute Solutions, a mediation and arbitration company headquartered in Baton Rouge. This company was recognized by the LSU 100 for being owned and led by LSU graduates. As a mediator and arbitrator, he has conducted in excess 5,000 mediations and lectured on the negotiation and mediation process throughout the United States. In 1976, he received a Bachelor of Science degree with honors from Southern Methodist University. In 1979, he received a Juris Doctorate from the Louisiana State University Law Center. In addition, he has authored papers on mediation, negotiation, and Social Security related issues for various legal publications. He has been included in the Best Lawyers in America and is a distinguished fellow in the American College of Civil Trial Mediators. We requested and received a number of questions from the Faculty Senate in advance of Mr. Dampf, Chairperson Dampf's visit. These were forwarded to him, and Mr. Dampf, Chairperson Dampf, you're welcome, and we're glad to have you here.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'll speak for just a minute or two and then be happy to answer any questions. First off, like Mandy, I'm one of 16 on our board, and I just happen to be the person holding the gavel this year. It's an interesting and fascinating job. I think 42 years as a lawyer and as a problem mediator, I think it was a good background for the position I'm in this year with the challenges we face. As you know, with issues that we're dealing with on the board, everything from presidential search to Title IX issues, structural issues with the university, the ongoing budget issues, it's always a challenge. We're all volunteers, obviously. For the chairperson, it's easily a 30, 40, 50 hour a week commitment, depending on whether we're in board week or 2 weeks before board. It's a very time consuming position. I'm fortunate because I live in Baton Rouge. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge. I lived in Lake Charles for a great number of years, but my wife and I moved back here several years ago, and I live actually on LSU Avenue, right at the gates of LSU, which is fortunate because I'm on campus pretty much on a daily basis. But it's a challenging job. It's a lot of fun. It's an interesting job, and it's an interesting time to have the job. I work with some great people. There are a lot of very dedicated folks that are on the board. We're extraordinarily fortunate to have Tom Galligan, who's just a dynamic leader. Stacy Haney does a terrific job, and I cannot emphasize enough how hard these folks work. And the emails I get early in the morning and late at night and so forth. So there's some great folks at this university, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. One of our priorities, and certainly an institutional priority, is our faculty and pay raises. And I know that's an issue that's important to everybody. Everybody needs a pat on the back, and everybody needs to make more money. We certainly know that. We can't have a great university unless we have competitive compensation for folks. We won't retain faculty and attract faculty and reward faculty without it. The folks have worked particularly hard in this COVID year in changing their teaching styles and so forth, and we certainly know that. But we have financial realities and financial problems. I know you read the same literature I read about the trends in the United States with public education. We don't get the state support, financial support that we deserve, that we'd like to have. It makes for a difficult fiscal situation. We see it all across the university. Pay raises, we'd like to have more scholarship money. Our deferred maintenance problems are very real and challenging. I visit with folks in the state budget office, the Division of Administration, regularly issues, and they're an ongoing problem here at LSU, and of course across the state. Across the nation, rather, every university sees the same kinds of issues. We're dealing at the moment. We're dealing with a utilities contract that's been a little bit in the news. It's not a sexy, splashy issue like things we see, other types of issues, but it's extraordinarily important. The board is very engaged in trying to take care of the university in terms of a long-term utilities contract that's efficient for the university from an energy standpoint and from a financial standpoint. Obviously, everybody's familiar with the Title IX issue that's in the news, and we are working with the STAR folks, the Sexual Trauma Awareness Response organization. We're trying to improve our resources and do better in that area. Obviously, we've retained a national firm called Hush Blackwell. It's out of Austin, Texas. As you know, we're in the middle of that investigation. We're looking at individual cases. We're looking at policies. It's a difficult issue at all levels, obviously, but it's everything we do. We want to be transparent, but there are obviously in this area there are unique considerations. So we're trying to balance those things as best we can, but we want to get to the heart of the matter. We want to see what failures we've had in the past. If we acknowledge, I think that we've had failures, and what we can do to be more successful in the future, and and that takes awareness and education and personnel to accomplish these goals. So those are sort of the main things. A lot of the main things we've dealt with this year in the 3 or 4 months that I've been chairman. We spent a lot of time early and last year, part of this year, dealing with the structural issue of whether we wanted to felt like we should have a president and a chancellor for the Baton Rouge campus, or whether those jobs should remain combined. I think the sense of the board, we will, particularly in tough economic times, we'd rather use our resources with faculty and students as opposed to administrators, with apologies to my friends that are in administration. But my impression is that with limited resources, we'd rather spend our dollars in that way with faculty and students, as opposed to another layer of somewhat bureaucratic issue personnel. So those are the main things we've dealt with. I'd be happy to answer any questions or visit with you about some other things. For questions, anybody?
All right, thank you, Chairperson Dan. Well, there has been an issue that's been raised several times. I'll start off by a rather uncomfortable issue, and that of gender pay disparities. This was identified at our LSU some years back, and quite a bit of press about it and some action on it. But and it was presented by the Council of Faculty Advisors at one of the Board of Supervisors meetings, you may remember. Any updates on that?
It's an issue that we have a number of diversity panels that are actively engaged. They're bringing us a recommendation. I haven't seen the recommendation. It's an important issue and one we want to get right. But I can't be more specific because I think it's still a matter in the works.
Okay, are there, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the floor for Chairperson Dan? All right, I have one. Let's see. One question that was sent in, of the 19.8 million for LSU from the December emergency COVID funding, how much will be allocated to, or might be allocated to, faculty and staff raises?
I do not know. I will make every effort to find out the answer to that and get back to you. That's a great question. I just don't know the answer.
Mandy, do you want me to
Yeah,
answer?
send the cavalry.
Yeah, I don't think any of the CRRSA money, CARES 2 money, can be used for faculty increases. That it can only be used for designated purposes to cover COVID-related losses directly. But our ability to cover our COVID-related losses will be key to our success to be able to give faculty and staff raises. So directly, none. Indirectly, it will help, but we will definitely need more federal action and assistance as well.
Okay, very good, thank you. Another one that was sent in is the One LSU concept. Had a lot of activity and motion on it at one time. There were many benefits, such as transfer of student campuses, aligned policies and procedures within the universities, and savings on contracted IT and other services. Is there any intention by the Board of Supervisors to renew this effort?
I mean, I think it's an ongoing effort. I mean, I think we all recognize it's important, and that was a part of the structural conversations we had last year and leading into this year. But we do think the One LSU concept is very important, and we're it's always a work in progress. I think with 8 institutions across the state and so forth.
Okay, and one more, and then we'll let you go. Looks like we have 2 more. The question is, will LSU sever the contract with Rouse's as the exclusive caterer to athletics due to Donald Rouse's attendance at the Capitol rally that turned violent on January 6th?
I absolutely do not think that will happen. I think that there's actually been a lot of good come out of that dialogue with LSU and Rouse's, and we recognize that, and I got a lot of phone calls about that, as you might imagine. The folks at Rouse's have a right, have their freedom of speech rights, just as Mr. Temple does when he made his comments at our board meeting. And as a result of some of those conversations, Mr. Temple and some of the Rouse's folks have gotten together and gotten to know each other and had some really meaningful, good conversations, which is the direction we need to be going as a society, is to talk to one another. And so I don't think we're severing any relationships. I think we're interested in improving relationships all across the business community. LSU makes a lot of money from our corporate sponsors, and those dollars are important in this era of diminishing support. So we want to do the things that we want to do to be a great university. They take dollars. And so we need to work effectively with the business community. And I think that some of the conversations that grew out of us actually are turning into a real positive. So the answer to your question is, are we going to sever relationships? No, we're going to improve relationships. Okay,
well, that sounds like a very great approach to a difficult situation, and especially in an attempt to avoid a future misunderstanding. The final question is, what qualities, what qualities might you be looking for in I'm sorry, it's a bit bungled, but what qualities would you like to see in the next LSU president? Oh, that's easy. We want it, all of the, we want somebody that checks the box, all of the above. We want an academic that the faculty will respect. We want a fundraiser. We want somebody that'll work with the students. We need a politician type. We need some, and with a little p, not a big P. We need somebody that can work with the legislature, donors, all of the above. We are looking for a dynamic leader. I'm excited about our search process. I think we're going to come up with a dynamic leader that'll really be just exactly what LSU is looking for. I could not be more excited about this process. We think we'll know a lot more by March, and I think we'll have a new president, or we will have a permanent president by June 1st. And the process is very exciting. I myself am not personally on the search team, but I have appointed 20 folks with wide backgrounds, touch a lot of different LSU bases. Extraordinarily excited about that process. Okay, well, great. Thank you so much. We can't thank you enough for your time and for giving us the opportunity to put a face with a name, or a name with a face, or whatever it happens to be in this virtual reality that we are now in. So we're grateful for you coming here before us and taking on some tough questions from the floor. The faculty certainly look forward to working with you in the future, and hope that you'll have a chance to visit with us again. Always happy to come. Invite me anytime. I'd love to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, sir. All right. With that, we'll move on to the president's report. We're very grateful for Chairperson Dampf. As you'll recall, this tradition, I guess, was started by the former chairperson, Mary Warner, and we're grateful for the connection, and hope to continue a very positive connection and dialogue with the Board of Supervisors and the Faculty Senate. All right, so it is a new year. It is 2021. It is certain to be full of unquestionable promise, opportunity to grow, and virtually limitless adventure. The world is changing, and participation by her engaged citizens is critical to the most positive and inclusive outcomes. In this, the current virtual sanctum of our LSU Faculty Senate, we encourage polite and respectful dialogue and abundance of matters that impact our LSU. We can't possibly always agree. Well, we're academics after all, and it's not necessarily human nature to always agree, but we can agree that no voice should be unheard as we work together to make our way as a team through the brilliant future that's before us. Don't hesitate to speak up for those you represent. Each faculty senator has a voice composed of many voices. Please use them wisely and graciously. First, some disheartening news. Despite our positive relationship with the Board of Supervisors and continued requests, there's still no place for a faculty representative on the LSU Board of Supervisors, though there is a student government representative. The request has been on the table, so to speak, for, well, close to a decade, as far as I can remember. However, we've recently learned that such a seat requires a change in the state constitution. The Faculty Senate Executive Committee will make this a priority. It's going to be an excellent opportunity for some new experiences, no doubt. COVID, the word of 2020, how we look forward to banishing it once and for all. First up, masks and other personal protective equipment. In general, compliance seems to be improving among faculty, staff, and students. While it's still early in the semester, I've not heard nearly the number of mask infractions as previously, with one huge exception. It appears that contractors do not feel obligated to comply with the state, now federal mask mandate. The reason for this is certainly unclear, but there cannot be any plausible explanation for contractors entering and working in LSU space without wearing masks. The faculty ask that facility services take this seriously and provide some mechanism to report violations, as well as some consequences. This is our LSU after all. Next, COVID vaccinations on campus. Well, this started with a little mishap that proves beyond a doubt that word of mouth in the digital age is unrealistically amplified. Word got out that 190 vaccinations were administered to select individuals. Apparently, when and where to get said vaccination was sent via email. Within hours, I'd say closer to 1,000 people knew of the secret 190, and a good portion were furious about the apparent secrecy. Yikes. So the faculty requests that the number of scheduled vaccines, number of vaccines administered, etc., be added to the LSU COVID dashboard, similar to the current state, the Louisiana Department of Health dashboard, which contains that information. Okay, next, you should have all received the LSU survey to provide general information about your age and health status for prioritization within the Tier 2A, as far as I can tell, status to which most LSU faculty have been relegated. Some glaring omissions in the tier organization scheme, which I put forth, is no fault of our LSU. Family member health status. Many live with and provide care for those who are more senior or have health conditions that are susceptible to the worst consequences of COVID-19. When this point was raised, the response was that the more vulnerable individual should be eligible for a vaccination with a healthcare provider, etc. From my perspective, this means that potentially an individual in my household might be vaccinated against something I might bring home as a result of my job responsibility, but that I receive lower prioritization for vaccination to avoid bringing it home in the first place. Okay, I'm still working on getting my head wrapped around that, but that's one issue. And there are courses and job responsibilities, faculty taught courses and job responsibilities that require that some be physically present, interacting with students, and in some cases, interacting with the public. How does this not rise to the level of a priority? Some faculty and staff, as part of their job responsibilities, have a much greater risk for exposure than others. These points simply can't just be ignored from my perspective. The unique circumstances and job responsibilities of LSU faculty and staff, beyond those in the survey, certainly deserve another look. And still on the topic of COVID, so the spring semester was only 2 weeks gone. All eyes are on the horizon towards summer and fall. The starts and fits of vaccine distribution give little confidence that the population will be immune to COVID or that the virus will have disappeared entirely by that time. We look forward to the plans from the administration for a safe return as soon as possible and request that faculty be included in the decision-making process. Side note, I don't find the term herd immunity particularly attractive or accurate. We are not a herd of animals. We are a community of citizens. So I prefer community immunity. Even right. All right, next up, Title IX, training, investigations, etc. Faculty have again voiced concerns about the fact that a member of the Hush Blackwell team currently conducting a far-reaching within LSU Title IX investigation has a daughter currently enrolled at LSU. The administration has assured the faculty that this poses no conflict of interest. However, the faculty remain concerned. On another note, the LSU Title IX lead investigator, Mr. Jeffrey Scott, met with the FSCC and agreed that the training would be updated and revised. That is the annual training we're all compelled to take. Communications improved and support services made more prominent and accessible. Steps have already been taken for which we are grateful. I tried searching a few trigger words and phrases in the LSU search engine on Friday and was a bit more satisfied with the results than I was some months back. There's still room for improvement, and I encourage you to share feedback on the Title IX reporting and support services for affected individuals. We will look forward to a report from the Title IX office about changes made and yet to come later this semester. As a follow-up to this, with the end of the year come mandatory trainings. Currently, they include preventing sexual misconduct, Louisiana ethics, and accessibility. Faculty experienced a series of headaches with accessing the training, printing certificates, and figuring out to whom to send said proof of completion. Chief Human Resources Officers Clay Jones agreed that some aspects of the current system are less than ideal. He gave the following response to my query. Note, I've abbreviated slightly for brevity. So, from Mr. Jones, the university sets an overarching policy that the trainings are mandatory. Central HRM does not control how departments interpret this mandatory status and try to enforce it. HRM is not able to carry out any enforcement if it isn't done at the departmental or college level. Similarly, HRM doesn't require any central submission of the certificates. The trainings were located on the HRM main page, but they are now also located to My LSU and under the Employee Resources tab. Also, there is work to have a tab located on Moodle as well. Problems with printing the certificates should be directed to Liesl Walker in HRM. The Preventing Sexual Misconduct training is currently under revision. A decision was recently made to seek an outside entity to help repackage and develop this training module. Note that other absolute mandatory training, the Louisiana Code of Governmental Ethics, is required by the Louisiana Board of Ethics and is done by them. All right, so with that, we thank CSRO Jones for his responsiveness and appreciate the information. So forward progress. Next, our new CIO, relatively new, I guess in this virtual age, Craig Woolley, is moving things along at a rapid pace. He appreciates feedback on IT services, wants, needs, and aspirations. I've enlisted his service with everything from an unusable phone that contained a number from a since retired individual to Dell's propensity to send me exploding computers. There has been some organization in the IT committee structure, alignment among independent IT departments, and a positive service persona that is heartily welcome. As you know, a new student information system is imperative before our antique Model T system circa 1984 descends into ether darkness once and for all. That should be upcoming, and I believe work is underway. It also appears that the LSU 360 faculty data collection system with Dante's drop-down boxes that include every single option imaginable and even some that defy imagination may be up for reconsideration. So some big changes on the horizon. I'll keep you posted. I'm happy to report that Samba Dingas has joined us as the Senior International Officer and Executive Director of International Programs. After he gets settled in, we'll look forward to having him present his plans for our LSU. Many will be relieved, perhaps delighted, perhaps a few sad, with the new news that LSU has a new travel agency, Christopherson Business Travel. After over a decade of innumerable complaints about the previous agency that will remain unnamed, there's a new shop in town. Let's hope that faculty shall fly once again in the future with far fewer travel travails than they knew previously. Next, the W extension. After deliberation among the ASH, CNC, and FSEC committees and feedback from the registrar, it became apparent that moving the last day to drop without a W was not possible without some serious confounding issues that may have been punitive to the students. This issue will be pursued in the future because a number of faculty feel that less than a full 2 weeks of class in semesters in which the first 2 weeks include a holiday is not sufficient. So a point for upcoming discussions. However, the committees voted to move the last day to drop with the W to the last day of class in spring 2020, and not to include the W for the total number allowed. However, this will apply to this semester only, and the faculty do not support additional changes in grade scales, pass, no credit, etc. It is fully anticipated that drop dates will be those published on the academic calendar provided by the Register Office for all future semesters. Thank you for your patience and your support of our students in allowing this slight change. All right, updates on committees. Thanks to the tireless efforts of our own Miss Knoll, along with some help from the FSEC and this faculty body, the committee appointments are almost complete and elections for open positions today. Never-ending gratitude to those who volunteer their time to faculty governance. Committees are the beating heart of our university. Service at this time is especially meaningful. Okay, but things got a little bit out of sync with the passage of the Constitution and bylaws late last semester. As you'll recall, I asked current members to continue to serve until new elections or appointments were made, anticipated to be early this year. So, terms will be a bit longer than usual because we will ask that newly appointed members will serve 1 semester longer as well, so that all committee appointments and elections return to the normal academic cycle. So this will seem a bit unusual, but innovation and versatility are our most excellent characteristics. We will have elections today for members with terms ending last summer, and elections again in a few months for members with terms ending this upcoming summer. In the upcoming month, we will launch meetings for all standing committees. Ms. Knoll will begin scheduling those immediately after the elections today. And speaking of our meeting today, it's a busy one. All right, we appreciate the time of Supervisor Dampf to speak with us, and are grateful that he was able to make it here, even though it was virtually. Senior Vice Provost Cassidy is here to present progress on updates to PS 104, dismissal for cause of faculty. Professor Elliott is here to introduce a relatively new program being launched on the campus and the survey that is part of the initiation. And that program is the collaboration of academic career in higher education, or COACHE. We have 2 resolutions for consideration and discussion, and elections will conclude the meeting. Much ahead. So as I prepared this report, I reread the run from our meeting on January 16, 2020. Wow. I asked myself what I might have said had I known then what I know now. The political and social unrest is a pervasive cloud that can blur and distance relationships among friends, families, and neighbors. Times are stressful and tiresome and a little bit sad and disheartening. I share with you the very real burden of COVID fatigue. Could anyone have anticipated the phrase masked up buddy would be publicly acceptable? Could we have imagined that we'd be working on facial expressions limited to the eyes and brows? Who could possibly fathom that 2020 would be the year of the toilet tissue? Remember, friends, patience is good, tolerance is necessary, communication and consideration are vital to successfully negotiate the rough waters ahead. Try to remember that things will get better. They most certainly will. I thank you, our LSU faculty, for all you do, and especially for the service, your service to our faculty and students in the realities of 2021. As I sign off, I will do as I did last year. Thank you for your resilience, versatility, and fortitude. Little did I know what that would mean. You're the best. And with that, I'll take any questions. Okay. Okay, no, seeing no questions, we'll move on. I apologize for my poor articulation. It is something I continue to struggle with and will endeavor to do better. Nonetheless, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll fill you back in. I'll backfill you on anything that you may have missed. All right, first up is Senior Vice Provost Jane Cassidy, who is here to talk to us about PS 104. Welcome, Senior Vice Provost Cassidy. Are you on
Thank
YouTube?
you. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mandy. As you may remember from last year or last semester, I came and presented a revision of PS 109, which is the policy that guides us when faculty members are struggling with components of their job, usually teaching or research. It's a policy that gives us a formal mechanism to provide required peer support and oversight when the end goal is always having the faculty member return to a highly competent performance in all facets of their job. You provided feedback. Our committee met and made some adjustments to the policy, and it's now in the final stages of approval. We have written responses to your comments, and those will be coming back to you this week so that you can see our thoughts on how we change the policy based on your questions. Today, we're ready to present you a draft revision of PS 104, the dismissal for cause for faculty policy. I believe you already have had a chance to look at the draft. I think it was sent to you before the holidays. So today, I'll just provide you with an overview. You can see from the committee that it was made up of faculty, academic administrators, faculty senators, and input from HRM and general counsel. 2 people were from Faculty Senate Executive Committee, Dr. McMillan and Dr. Hassan. Others on the committee had served in various roles during other PS 104 cases, so we felt like the committee had many perspectives from which to draw upon. Our charge led us to a nearly wholesale revision of the process outlined in the policy. First, the old PS 104 was long and had an overly convoluted process. While no one wants to rush a process with potential consequences such as this one, it was unnecessarily difficult to wade through and was not in the best interest of the faculty member or those trying to manage the process. Second, the old PS 104 was set up like a legal trial and put various faculties serving in adversarial roles. This process of providing a recommendation to the provost on the merits of the case is not a legal one. So the charge was to have a process that mirrored other faculty processes, such as promotion and tenure recommendations. Third, we needed to carve out a place in this policy for extremely rare, but potential cases that are beyond the purview of faculty. There is a potential where employment law, state law, or the legal system would suggest that a faculty member be terminated. So we have added a process like that in the policy for just such instances. The policy identifies 3 broad areas that would lead to the dismissal for cause process to be initiated. The first is serious deficiencies in performance. Examples of these would be a faculty member who, after the multi-year PS 109 process, continues to do unsatisfactory work, or a faculty member who has had a serious research misconduct finding. The second is an act or acts of commission or omission. An example of this might be job abandonment or some other serious non-performance of duties. The third is when a faculty member has been found to engage in serious specific misconduct, such as a Title IX violation or workplace violence. Any of those particular situations would be reason to initiate the PS 104 process. The request to initiate this process would normally be sent in writing to either Academic Affairs or HRM. In either case, the documentation and request would be sent to a confirmation review committee whose only responsibility is to decide whether the case is an academic matter or an administrative matter. If it's an academic matter, such as unsatisfactory work, the file would be forwarded to a faculty review board. This group, made up of full professors from a list forwarded to the committee by Faculty Senate, would study the case and make a recommendation to the provost. If it's an administrative matter, such as a significant illegal activity, the file would be provided to an administrative review board that would have a faculty representative on it, but would largely be a group of people who would look at the risk to the institution in their recommendation to the provost. While the hearing committee is being named, one of those 2 groups, the case file is forwarded to the faculty member who is provided an opportunity to submit a rebuttal with any and all kinds of documentation they want to provide. Once a faculty member has submitted the rebuttal, the entire case file is sent on to the hearing committee. At any time during the process, the faculty member or committee members can add to the file and ask for any documentation they feel would clarify the issues of the case. At the point a hearing would be scheduled at a mutually convenient time for all those who need to attend. That would be the appropriate review board, the faculty member, and an optional non-contributing advisor to the faculty member. The chair of the review board presents the case, the faculty member presents a rebuttal, and then there are questions and answers asked by anyone until everyone is satisfied that all the information available is on the table. The committee makes a recommendation to the provost. Let me get back to here. The committee makes a recommendation to the provost accompanied by the complete file. This can be followed by a rebuttal by the faculty member. The provost considers the entire case file and makes a recommendation to the president. The faculty member can make a rebuttal at this point also. However, it can only be based on procedural error. The president considers the complete file and makes a final decision. He or she would inform the chair of the Board of Supervisors for information only. The policy ends with a paragraph about restoring the reputation of the faculty member should there be no disciplinary action taken due to the merits of the case. If there are any questions, I'll answer them in whatever time we have. However, we're really asking you to provide written comments by sending them as you did last time to Susanna by the end of this week. She'll collate them and get them to our committee for consideration. It's in the best interest of all faculty if we have input on policies such as this that could have profound impact on a faculty member. And with that, I will either answer questions or I will cede the floor.
Okay, thank you, Vice Provost Cassidy. There's one question, and it is, who decides which faculty are on the faculty review board?
That there is a list of, I believe, 15 members that the Faculty Senate provides, and those go to the president and the president selects.
Okay, are there any other quick questions for Dr. Cassidy? Okay, well, thank you very much for that presentation. I think it was very clear. As the senators heard, Senior Vice Provost Cassidy is asking for written feedback by the end of this week. So if that's all possible, please send it to either me or Ms. Knoll, and we'll collate all of that information and send it forward to Dr. Cassidy. All right, well, thank you again very much for coming before the Faculty Senate, Dr. Cassidy, and we'll send any feedback that we get forward to you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Professor Elliott. I believe she's up. There she is. I can see her smiling square. And so, all right, she is here to give us a little bit of, fill us in on the new program called COACHE. And you've probably already seen the survey. So I will cede the floor. Professor Elliott.
Thank you so much, Mandy. I really appreciate your leadership and also your introduction today. I'm going to be sharing my screen so I can show you a few slides about the survey that we want to share with you. So hopefully you are seeing this, and it says Faculty Job Satisfaction Survey. So is that looking right?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I'm going to be talking just a short bit about a tool that is called COACHE, and it is an acronym. So I wanted to just spend a short minute spelling out what the acronym means. It is the Collaborative on Academic Careers in Higher Education. So in case you hear us speaking about it or see this in a broadcast email or on a website, you will know what COACHE is and what it stands for. So why am I here today telling you about COACHE? Well, essentially, there's a group of us, of faculty and administrators, and we've been working together over the last several years. So this has been a work in progress. This is not something that just popped into existence in the spring of 2021. And the reason we've been working is because we want to gain an understanding of faculty successes, as well as challenges that faculty face. And we need data to be able to make informed decisions going forward. So using the COACHE survey is going to allow us to do that. So when will the survey launch? You will receive a link from COACHE. So this is all faculty members, all ranks, all FTEs will receive a link from COACHE. This will start the week of February 8th, and it will close April 12th. This is linked to IRB approvals by Harvard, which is the university that is hosting the COACHE survey, as well as locally here at LSU. We have IRB approval as well. And who is involved? Well, LSU has a core committee, and the LSU core committee will receive confidential and de-identified data. So the survey will be in the spring. It will wrap up in April. The COACHE team will organize the data and process it and send it to us in the fall of 2021. And it's important to note that the only reporting allowed is aggregated. So there has to be a minimum of 5 individuals per demographic group in a unit to protect the identity of respondents. This is because we know that in some units, it is absolutely possible to identify someone. If you say, oh, this is an African-American woman in the College of blank, then you might be able to know who they are. So for protection of confidentiality, the data are aggregated. And also a limited number of individuals will have access to this file, and no one with personnel decision-making authority will be able to see this de-identified unit record data file. Just a brief mention of the LSU Core Committee and who we are and what we're doing. So this is a group that is drawn from multiple areas of campus to support the exploration of campus climate. It's really important for us to understand what's happening with our culture, what's happening with faculty experiences, and we're also doing multiple processes of institutional self-assessment. So this COACHE tool is only one. And then this core committee is going to work to give recommendations and guidance so that we can take the data that we receive from the COACHE survey as well as other projects to be able to discuss and make recommendations. What will the survey cover, you might ask? Well, it's a really great survey that's been used for some time at lots of other institutions. It's not like it's brand new for us. So there are survey questions that regard several domains, such as the nature of work, thinking deeply about the research that you do, the teaching that you do, the service that you do, and how do you feel about those components of your work? What are the resources that you have? What's the support that's available? Telling us more about interdisciplinary work, collaboration and mentoring, tenure and promotion, as well as other topics. Also, For help with communication, we wanted you to know that there's an LSU website available for review. And this is just a snip so that you can see what it looks like. But this is the main landing page of this COACHE Faculty Job Satisfaction Survey page that LSU has made available. I'll give you a second to look at that. And then this is also the FAQ page. So as senators, you're going to go back to your units and you may talk to them about COACHE and they may have questions. So this FAQ page exists to help with that and sharing this information with others. So it's very important that we understand what COACHE is, why we're participating, and what we plan to do with this information. So let's bring it all together. This is a slide that has lots happening, but it reviews basically the things that I've been saying. So there's this tool, it's called COACHE. It's going to help us do a faculty job satisfaction survey. And one of the critical pieces of this is this allows benchmarking of the data. So once we receive the data in the fall of 2021, we will be able to benchmark against other peers who have also looked into the COACHE tool. So here's an example, possible benchmarking peers. And you see here a large list of different universities and the years in which they participated in COACHE. Some universities participate multiple years. For example, Purdue, you will see there, has participated in multiple years, and they have lots of communication and information available on their website if you're curious to see how other universities use the information that is obtained from a tool like COACHE. This is a lot going on the slide, but these slides are going to be available if anyone is interested. So the reason I'm here today is basically to say we need your help. We would love to have a strong survey response rate. It will help us the most if our sample is really representative of our faculty. And for that to happen, we need participation. So please talk to your departments about COACHE. Familiarize yourself with COACHE. Go to the website, reach out to me or other members of the core committee to ask questions. Encourage participation and also participate in follow-up discussions. There is going to be subsequent work that comes out of this involving all kinds of other activities as we get past the fall of 21 once the data come in. So here is my contact information here. My name is Emily Elliott. And again, these slides will be available. If you would like to discuss any questions about COACHE, I'm very happy to talk about them. And I'd like to thank you for your attention. And this time go to questions, and it's possible that something popped up in the chat. So I'm trying to figure that out as well.
Okay, yes, thank you very much, Professor Elliott, for presenting to this and your leadership role on this endeavor. A question in the chat is, how is the COACHE survey and its utility different from the previous satisfaction surveys?
So I think that might be referring to previous climate surveys that LSU has launched. And so it's similar, but it's enhanced because it's going to be a broader array of questions across more domains, number one. And number two, it's going to be a tool for us to look at our own local responding and also compare that to the responses of these other universities. When I put up the benchmarking slide, those are examples of other universities that have used the exact same tool. So the idea is you're going to have data on faculty satisfaction, let's say, regarding your teaching, and you'll be able to compare how that faculty satisfaction looks relative to other major research universities.
And as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Professor Elliott, isn't the data reduced and collated outside of the university as a service as part of this, well, as part of the grant, I guess, that supported it?
Yes, that is correct. And so the COACHE team is going to put together a chief academic officer's report that is going to contain aggregated data. And that information is going to then be shared with the members of the core committee that have the permission to see that data.
Okay. And then there's a request from the floor, if you would, whether or not you will be so kind as to send Ms. Knoll a copy of the slides for the faculty senators to distribute among their colleges.
Absolutely, I'm happy to do it. And I sent a PDF copy, and if anybody wants the PowerPoint themselves, just let me know.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions? Well, we appreciate you coming before us to share this information. It's obviously an important endeavor and will be the foundation for our future LSU. So thank you very much, Professor Elliott.
Thank you.
All right, next up on our agenda is the second reading of Resolution 20-05, Confronting Anti-Blackness by Ensuring Undergraduate Access to Anti-Racist Curricular Offering. First, a few points of order. After the second reading, it's already entered into discussion, so we will continue the discussion. During that time, you can please remember that you represent your college and, well, remember who you represent, your department, your college, etc. We'll ask people to raise their hands to contribute to the discussion. This is going to be a bit dodgy given our new reality, but we'll do our very best. Please both raise your hand. Ms. Knoll and I decided the best way to avoid missing anyone is to have you raise your hand and message, both raise your hand and message. We do ask that the discussion be respectful at all times. We are colleagues, and this word change is painful but necessary, and we all want to be as courteous yet clear as possible. It's absolutely fine to be genuine. The vote will be recorded should we vote on this today, as is anticipated. The vote will be recorded. Since it is not possible for me to see everyone's name at the same time, we won't be asking for yays or nays or hands raised, etc., because that will just be subject to error without question. However, your vote will be recorded and subject to disclosure as per the Sunshine Law. Let's see. Proxies are allowed a vote. Yes, that is right. You must message us to tell us, or just to remind us how many votes you have and who the vote is for. Okay, I will ask that any preliminary remarks be limited as the public statements to 3 minutes. So with that, I think all the housekeeping is okay. I managed to touch on all the points that I intended to. All right. So with that, I will turn it over to Professor Wiley.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys see my screen? Yes, wonderful. It is wonderful to see you all. I'm going to try to finagle. I have several screens going here, so I'm going to try to get to what I want to share with you. I want to thank Madam President for allowing us to have this second reading. I want to thank you, my fellow senators, for indulging us. And I particularly want to thank Dr. Slack and Irvine and our doctoral candidate, Chason, for your public comments. They are heartfelt and duly noted. With that stated, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, John Emery, Kyron Davis Price, Derek Stingley Jr., Jaqueline Roy, Kendall Thomas, Patrick Queen, Grant Delpit, Delvin White, Javon Harrison, Darius Geis, Leonard Fournette, Patrick Peterson. I could go on. These are the names of young people I have personally helped to recruit to LSU's athletic program. This just happens to be a few of the football players, but I have recruited across the basketball team, track, swimming, and even gymnastics. In November, we named names of Black people who had been murdered and who had been abused at the hands of the police across our nation. But today I'm giving you the names of these precious few athletes, and I'm showing you pictures of my children and myself on countless of Saturdays and Sundays. We come after church to help the LSU coaching staff to recruit. I have volunteered for over 18 years as an academic recruiter and as an academic mentor for the athletic program. And I reiterate, I have volunteered. I have given up countless hours of my time because I believe in what I'm doing. And I believe that LSU is a school that these young people want to come to. I have promised mothers, grandmothers, and fathers that I would take care of their brown babies. And I do. Dr. Cheney and I are here today, as we were in November, on behalf of the Black Student Athlete Association. The distinction today is that in November, we were told not to mention the students, not to say that this program is student-led, because our faculty senate is a conservative bunch and they don't like to be led by students. However, I wouldn't be a professor if there were not students. I wouldn't be with these young people and still get phone calls and have the opportunity to know them if they were not first students and not students at LSU. So today I want to provide some clarity and some context, and most importantly, share the credit where credit is due, where this thought-provoking, beautiful, timely, and much needed racially sensitive resolution came from. It came from the Black Student Unit, the Black Student Athlete Association, and they asked their professors who teach the class to go to the Diversity Roadmap Committee and ask that this class be proposed to the Faculty Senate. Dr. Cheney and I did not write the resolution, nor did we create the curriculum, but we wholeheartedly support what it stands for because we believe that anti-Blackness is a problem in our society. It is a problem on our campus. It is even a problem at the University Lab School where my Black son goes to school. Twice in 1 week, the superintendent sent letters to the parents to try to address the negative, deplorable comments that were sent to only Black students last week, talking about the Black students, saying the only reason they were at the lab school was because they were athletes. So this is near and dear to my heart. My son is a student athlete. He is 12 years old, 6 feet tall, playing in a basketball game at Parkview right now, and I'm not there to watch him play. I'm a single mother, which means he doesn't have a parent representing and watching him play, because I believe enough in what I'm doing right here with the Faculty Senate to miss my baby's game. But please know this, and I want it to be recorded. This is the last ball game I will ever miss doing a volunteer venture for diversity, equity, and inclusion. With that said, I yield the time to my cohort, Cassandra.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for your heartfelt words. I want to personally thank you for the commitment that you have made, not only to the Black students, but to all students at LSU. Black students are in a minority here, and I have spoken to many parents that worry about their children as they navigate the world, but it is especially tragic that these same parents worry about their children when they come to LSU. So thank you for your work in that respect, and for giving clarity on Resolution 2005. I have a public statement that I would like to read. As Sonia and I stand before you today, I'm reminded of Hank Aaron, who passed away 3 days ago on Friday, January 22nd, 2021, at the age of 86. When people think of Hank Aaron, they undoubtedly think about his incredible baseball legacy, specifically his 715th home run. However, being a Black man in professional sports was far from easy. In many interviews, Aaron shared he had to endure cruel, relentless, and unrepentant racism on and off the field, and that racism reached a fever pitch in 1974 when he was pursuing Babe Ruth's home run record. He received up to 3,000 letters a day, and most of those letters were classified as hate mail because the individuals that sent these letters threatened his life, and they threatened the life of his family. These horrific acts are the personification of anti-Blackness. Hank Aaron has shared so much wisdom over his life with the world, but my favorite quote of his, and this quote is especially appropriate today. He said, "In playing ball and in life, a person occasionally gets the opportunity to do something great. When that time comes, only two things matter: being prepared to seize the moment and having the courage to take your best swing." Today, we have the opportunity to do something great. We are here because of the students, and this curriculum will better prepare them to live in a pluralist society. We are here because of the students, and we now have the opportunity to do something great for them. Let's have the courage to do something great today.
Okay, yes, Professor Cheney, thank you for that introduction, and Professor Wiley. Who is going to do the second reading?
Dr. Cheney.
Yes. Confronting Anti-Blackness by Ensuring Undergraduate Access to Anti-Racist Curricular Offering, sponsored by Faculty Senators, Professors Sonia Wiley and Cassandra Cheney. Whereas in the wake of the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Philando Castile, Stephon Clark, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, Tatiana Jefferson, Alton Sterling, Elijah McClain, and too many other Black people, the nation's largest protest movement in recent history unfolded across the country to demand an end to the institutionalized racism and the pervasive anti-Blackness that injures and kills. Whereas this is a moment in which the country is engaging in a long delayed reckoning with the ways it has been built on anti-Blackness, and in which Louisiana, Baton Rouge, and our university are challenged to confront the potency and destructive power of anti-Blackness in everyday life. Whereas LSU has committed itself to the truth that Black lives matter and has further dedicated itself to becoming an anti-racist institution. Whereas students are expressing the desire to be more well-prepared for the world in which they will live and work, including the students of the Black Student Athlete Association who have advocated for expanded curricular discussions related to social and racial injustice. Whereas LSU's strategic plan seeks to inculcate cultural adeptness as a core value, and that its pillars all involve in some way grappling with the legacies of systemic and structural racism. Whereas dismantling and disrupting racism demands conscious and intentional decisions about how we center anti-racism in our curriculum. Whereas research suggests that the overwhelming majority of high school students in the United States are not instructed in the true history of African enslavement, in the role of slavery in American history, and in its continuing effects in American social life, nor the students adequately instructed on the important contributions of African Americans to Louisiana and American history. Whereas statistics tell a stark story of the way the study of African Americans' contributions to Louisiana and American history is underrepresented in higher education. The percentage of LSU students identifying as Black or African American has grown from 8.8% in fall 2009 to 13.3% in fall 2019, with 14.5% of degree-seeking first-time freshmen, which total 887, identified as Black or African American in fall 2019, and that our increasingly diverse freshman classes will continue to increase the share of students identifying as Black or African American in line with national demographic trends and the race, ethnic composition of future cohorts of college attendees, coupled with a heightened attentiveness to recruiting more diverse pools of students. At the same time, African Americans are 34% of Louisiana's population. And yet, there are no public colleges or universities in Louisiana that currently offer an independent BA in African and African American Studies. Louisiana State University is in the process of seeking to be the first in making the program in African and African American Studies a department, and a curricular commitment to the study of Black and African American history and experience would cement LSU as the leader in the state. Whereas, as the statement from the Consortium of Chairs and Directors of Black Studies for Southeastern Conference, which was drafted this summer, points out, Black, Africana, and African American studies continue to be the most viable academic solutions to this crisis, and the ongoing national and global crises continuing to undermine our entire educational system, and that our systems must invest rather than continue to divest the kind of real support that matters, because as Black Lives Matter, hashtag Black Studies Matter. Whereas the Integrated Learning Core builds students' proficiency in areas including global learning and in intercultural knowledge and competence, but does not guarantee that students will be challenged to confront the anti-Blackness so central to United States history and its palpable legacies as they manifest in the present. Whereas AAAS 2000 supplies students with opportunities to studying Black experience in the US and equips students with the tools for identifying and combating anti-Blackness, which has played such a specific and immense role in the history of the state of Louisiana and our university, and thereby helps students begin the process of identifying and combating the many forms of intersecting oppression that characterize 21st century United States life.
Whereas the Spring 2020 Diversity and Inclusion Roadmap Report, produced by a robust committee of faculty, staff, and students, recommends a diversity and inclusion core requirement for all degrees. Whereas the subcommittee of the academic group from the Summer 2020 Inclusion, Equity, and Diversity Leadership Retreat and Task Force deliberated this recommendation in consultation with faculty, experts, including faculty experts on the subjects of race and racism. Whereas other universities are in the process of deliberating or implementing required courses that center on ending anti-Black racism, example, Yale and University of Pittsburgh. Whereas the Office of the President and the Office of the Provost have expressed their support for this resolution and have committed to supplying the necessary resources for its implementation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the LSU Faculty Senate endorses requiring AAAS 2000 be one of the courses each undergraduate completes in satisfying their ILC obligation. We did implement the changes or the suggestions that were suggested in our last meeting. Unfortunately, Susanna did not get that version where it is, whereas AAAS should be African and African American Studies 2000. Introduction to African and African American Studies is already an option for satisfying the social sciences requirements under LSU's ILC program, and per the general catalog addresses dimensions of African and African American thought and practice in contemporary and historical perspectives, and supply students with opportunities for studying Black enterprise. Susanna did not get that version that Chris Barrett corrected for us.
Okay, there I am. Okay, we apologize for that. Yes, indeed, the requested changes were implemented, and we'll certainly send that out. We apologize. Things got mixed up at the last hour. However, absolutely, thank you for reading that and including that in your presentation. All right, this resolution has already been moved forward to discussion. So as I said before, please message or raise your hand, or preferably both, if you with any questions, suggestions, or discussion. Can you switch it back? Stop there, yeah. Okay. All right. Any suggestions, questions, discussion?
I see hands raised, Mandy.
Do you?
Can they please put it in the chat as well?
Yeah. Okay. I do see them now. Okay, Professor Leday. And then Professor
Yes. Hi, my name is Morirete, and I'm talking on behalf of the Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies. So this is I'm representing the department now. And we had 2 points mainly. One was a financial concern. We're just kind of afraid that it would require a lot of money, and we don't know where the money would come from. And maybe it would come from taking away possible other lines. And the other concern was actually addressing the diversity issue. We thought it was too narrow in its diversity. So,
can't do anything about it.
Hello? Yeah?
Carry on. Sorry. Train is causing a bit of background noise. Carry on.
There was a train, I believe, in the background that we could hear.
Okay. 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 Well, we're going to mute you just momentarily, you and your train friend, and we'll move on.
Okay, I'll get back to you.
Professor Leday. We'll come back to you. Professor Leday.
Thank you very much, Mandy. I'm happy to say a few words about the resolution. Per President Lopez's comments in the November 18th meeting, encouraging senators to talk with colleagues, we did reach out to our colleagues for input on the resolution 20-05. As the resolution is something that covers a sensitive topic, we wanted colleagues to be aware that of the resolution. We wanted them to be able to have their voices heard without fear of repercussion. We assured colleagues that their identities would not be revealed. We also encouraged or we allowed anonymous responses. We compiled them into a single document, which was submitted to the Faculty Senate Executive Committee for distribution. In the request for input from our colleagues, we indicated we wanted a balanced view. We received responses both in favor and opposed to the resolution. And I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with the responses. I am just the messenger. The document is 8 pages long. You'll be happy to know I'm not looking to do a filibuster. I want to pull some excerpts from the responses. My apologies if I misinterpret any of the responses from my colleagues. Also, the I in the comments refers to the person who wrote the comment. It does not refer to me. We did not change the wording of things that were sent to us. So if you have that document with you, you can kind of scroll through it with us. Number 1 supports the resolution. it looks forward to giving feedback on the syllabus too. Number 2 supports the resolution. And for number 2, I'm looking for my copy here as well. For number 2, supports it and with interest, the person says, have some difficulty saying this because in general, this person is against all gen ed requirements. But the idea is a good one. Number 3 highlights problems with the resolution in terms of the 6 hours required in social sciences. For a major in social sciences, some of those 6 hours they get from taking required courses.
Professor Lay?
Yes.
Professor Lay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We did distribute this to the Faculty Senate ahead of time. The day is short and the list is long. Is there any way you can summarize? Was there a majority, a minority? What was the majority vote?
I think the majority vote would be in opposition to the resolution.
Okay, and can you give us a quick nugget about what is the basis for that opposition?
The 2 of the big things is number 3, which would be that it actually does add 3 hours to some degree requirements, although not on paper. It will add 3 hours in the sense of students can get their 6 hours they need in social sciences by taking courses that are already required for their degree. Another opposition was in terms of the number of sections needed. With the current freshman undergraduate class at 50 students per section, this would require 134 sections of this course in one academic year. So those are 2 of the big ones in terms of how the numbers play out. So those are the ones I'll mention there.
All right, we appreciate that very much. We did share your comments, for which we are grateful, with the faculty senator. So everyone should have a copy on their computer. And not to cut you short, we appreciate those comments and the effort that went into gathering them.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll move back to Professor Ritelli. Hopefully it was a short train. All right, there you are.
Okay, so we also gave a written comment. I think we sent it to Professor Mandy. But so there were 2 points. One was a financial concern. I don't know if the train let me. Yeah, that was heard. Okay. The other one was actually addressing diversity. We thought it was a bit too narrow, just concentrating on African-American history. And the syllabi we got was specifically on the history of slavery, which of course is very in the US, which of course is extremely important, but we thought maybe addressing some Native American history would be important too.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, I think is Professor Karama.
All right, thank you. And I hope everyone can hear me. I'm speaking on behalf of a group of faculty spanning multiple ranks, departments, and colleges on campus. Our group supports the principle embodied within the proposed resolution and agree that our curriculum would be improved by greater integration of material addressing issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. We do, however, have some questions and potential reservations about the specific mechanism by which this principle is proposed to be put into practice. At its heart, the proposed resolution addresses a question which is a core responsibility of the faculty, which is what is to be included in a general education curriculum. This question is fair and appropriate, and as I said, we support the inclusion of these issues within the liberal arts, whose purpose, according to the Association of American Colleges and Universities, is in part to develop specific learning outcomes that are essential for work, citizenship, and life. However, every policy has an intended and unintended consequences, and mandating a specific course has consequences that will be felt throughout the entire curriculum. The proposed requirement is one which is instead of, rather than in addition to, given that it would displace other coursework students may take under the current requirements, which has impacts on their familiarity with many subjects which are also essential for work, citizenship, and life. Consequently, we think that it would be best to give these questions the consideration they deserve by establishing a committee which could explore the benefits and costs of different approaches to revising the curriculum to better familiarize students with these issues within a holistic framework, which is also sensitive to other important areas. The committee would also play a critical role in determining the parameters of these alternatives, including the proposal requiring each student to complete AAAS 2000 and allowing for a more informed vote by the Senate on the perceived feasibility of each. It was difficult for many of our members to conceptualize how the requirement for this specific course would be put into action. The most resource intensive, but likely most beneficial format would be to have students in sections of no more than 35 to 50 students, which would require scaling up from 3 sections a year to over 100. The least resource intensive, but presumably least effective, would be the creation of a course through LSU Online, which was similar to a massive online course, or MOOC, enrolling hundreds, if not thousands of students in a single section. There are also a wide variety of options between these two extremes, each with their own benefits and drawbacks. These considerations must be taken into account because policies which aspire to advance important goals will fail if they cannot be effectively implemented. The information generated by the committee on the question of implementation will be of tremendous assistance in helping this body make the best decision we can, and in so doing better serve our students by providing them with the framework that will expose them to the wide body of knowledge and experiences which is necessary for them to be successful. For these reasons, I move to refer the motion to a special committee to study the likely impact of the proposed resolution on the curriculum and recommend how best to accomplish its central goal of educating LSU students on inequality and the troubled history of race in America. The details of the committee shall be as follows. The committee will be charged with consideration of the following questions and others which may arise during the course of their deliberations. The compatibility of the proposed resolution with existing general education requirements, including the impact on other departments and their course offerings. The compatibility of the proposed resolution with the proposed ILC program, including impacts on others who might be eligible for inclusion under LSU's roadmap to diversity. The preferences of the undergraduate student body on how to incorporate issues of diversity, equity, and inclusiveness into the curriculum, perhaps obtained through the commission of a survey and the solicitation of comments from individual students and student organizations. Issues pertaining to the actual implementation of the proposed resolution if passed, including but not limited to how adoption might impact the number of sections required to be offered, staffing, financial, and other logistical requirements. Investigation of potential amendments or alternatives to the proposed resolution in order to improve implementation of the program relative to its stated goals and to improve compatibility with each of the points of consideration listed above. Membership of the committee shall be determined as follows. Following adoption of this motion, the Faculty Senate President shall announce a 2-week period in which nominations may be accepted for each of the following groups. 1, faculty affiliated with AAAS with nominations provided by the program director. 2, faculty from programs and departments which offer courses which A, are included in the social science category of the general education curriculum, B, are included in the social and behavioral science category for the integrated learning core, or C, include content which covers issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nominations for this category are to be provided by the program director or department chair. Faculty, group 3, faculty from the senior colleges at the university with nominations to be provided by the college dean or their designated representative. Once the nomination window has closed, the Faculty Senate President shall provide to the Senate a complete list of all nominees and appoint 5 nominees from each of the 3 categories to serve on the committee. With the exception of category 1, no unit may have more than 1 representative on the committee. The chairs of the Faculty Senate Admissions, Standards, and Honors, Courses and Curricula, and Integrative Learning Core committees shall serve on the committee as ex officio members. The committee shall provide the Senate with preliminary reports on its progress at each Senate meeting in February and March, with a final report to be provided to the Senate for its deliberation at the final meeting of the semester in April.
Professor Tyrone. Thank you, Professor Tyrone. This is then a motion to refer Senate Resolution 20-05. Is there a motion to move this motion into discussion?
So moved.
Okay. All right, we have a first and a second. All right, the motion is under discussion. Are there any comments? Questions? Professor Ledet?
I like the motion. I think it's a good way to address some of the concerns that a lot of people have voiced in the meeting, in the public comments, and in the comments discussion, the motion. I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Professor Ledet. Anyone else? Oh. Professor King? Do you have a question, Professor King?
I was just wondering if you can repeat the motion because I missed it. I had to step out for a second.
I think Susanna sent you a copy. Are you at your email? Well, I'll ask Ms. Knoll to send it again.
Professor Houston.
Okay, Professor Houston?
Hi, I just wanted to clarify, in our previous discussion of the resolution, we were told to focus only on what was on the paper and not worry about implementation, not worry about cost and things like that. There's been an exceptional amount of conversation about cost and implementation. So I just want to clarify what our role here is. I'm concerned about implementation in a lot of different ways, and perhaps that is the reason that this motion makes sense. But I just want to clarify what my role is here in terms of how I should speak to the resolution as it stands.
Okay, well, at the moment, the motion to refer is subservient to the previous resolution. And so right now, what we are discussing is the motion to refer. So depending on the outcome of this, as I understand it, we can go back to discuss the resolution again. I think your question is very right, spot on, and there was a lot of questions about that, and a lot of concerns that have been expressed. But nonetheless, we are right now discussing the motion to refer the Senate resolution. And pending that, we'll take questions on the resolution 20-5 once again. Okay.
Great, thank you for the clarification.
No worries, no worries. So I can't keep,
Lori Martin.
Okay, Professor Martin.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to remind Professors Cheney and Wiley that based upon our previous discussions in the committee, that there isn't an interest in working with a subcommittee, and that's a desire is if that is the way in which the Senate would like to go, that we would withdraw the resolution.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. All right. Next up, Professor Daniels-Reyes.
Good afternoon. I actually have a question, point of clarification, if you will. To my understanding, with the original resolution, a great deal of research, study, investigation, and likewise reference to experts was put forward, at least as to my reading of it. So I am a bit concerned, if not confused, as to the subsidiary resolution or offering of a resolution for the additional study. It seems at least in some part, if not in whole, we would be to some extent reinventing the wheel, or at least rehashing work that has been done. So my primary question is to the originators of the resolution, which I believe was a committee. I saw Dr. Lee, Dr. Rivera, and I'm sorry, there was another individual listed for the committee leaders. Was there not a concerted effort in terms of the research about some of the items and questions that have been raised with this subsequent resolution? I take it that according to the resolution I read, it was done, but I would like clarification, please.
Okay.
Well, this is Lori Martin, if I'm able to comment, because I was actually on that committee, and that committee included, as you mentioned, Matt Lee and Chris in English. It also included myself, and Dr. Stephen Finley and some other folks. And to your point, yeah, so we have individuals on campus who've been studying issues related to race and racism for their entire careers. And so, yes, we have already looked at what some other institutions are doing and proposing. We also drew from our work and the work of our colleagues. And so, again, we were listening to individuals who have expertise in this area. So thank you for raising that question.
Very good. Thank you, Professor Martin. Additional questions. Again, we are discussing the motion to refer Senate Resolution 20-05 by Professor Tyrone.
Yeah, this is Stephen Shipman here. It does make sense to, I say I haven't quite heard answers to the questions about the implementation and how it's going to work, and to the answers to the questions that have been raised, the technical questions about curriculum and so on. And so I feel that instead of rushing into it, it would be a good idea to clarify all of these things for us, to know that it will work, and so that the concerns of the people who raised those issues about changes in the curriculum, number of classes, cost, and so on can actually be addressed adequately. It does make, to me, it makes sense to refer it to a committee to do those investigations.
Very good. Thank you, Professor Shipman. Additional discussion, again, on the motion to refer. Professor Feldman? Professor Feldman.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to say, first of all, that I'm speaking on my own behalf. I have talked to my colleagues in the history department, and there's quite an array. It is a controversial issue, a sensitive topic, and we could come to no consensus as a department. But I support this resolution to refer this very important issue to a meeting, primarily from the first part of the resolution, where it talks about the importance of making sure that we keep the aim in mind of educating our students in the history of the African-American experience in both Louisiana and in the country. This is an important issue, and I think I think we agree about educating our students. And so for me, the big question is, what's the best way to do it? Maybe it is to have those single course. At this point, I'm not convinced, but I think 3 months to consider would be 3 months well spent, so that we come up with the best solution possible to this very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Feldman. Anyone else? Okay, hearing no further discussion, is there?
Well, can I say one more thing?
No,
Yeah, so it also seems like there has been, besides the technical issues, so it looks like apparently there is quite a bit of discussion also just on maybe the underlying basis also to it that haven't been completely addressed. I just feel like maybe that needs more discussion. Also give people a chance to maybe read what other faculty members, what their concerns actually are. And so what I mean is, what I'm trying to say is that there may be ways to actually address those concerns so that people, so that either those fears are allayed, or at least there's a consensus that it is a good thing or not, right? So I just feel that there are many issues that we probably should think about that have been raised, so that people I want to avoid doing something that's going to somehow anger a lot of people without actually having that discussion to help us understand together.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Professor Shipman. Any other comments? Okay, is there a motion to move this forward to a vote? That is the motion to refer Senate Resolution 20-05.
We need a first and a second.
We need two, yeah, we need a first and a second.
First.
Okay.
Okay, was that a first or?
Got them both.
Okay, all right, now, to be clear, we are voting on the motion to refer Senate Resolution 20-05. Please use the Zoom poll function. Only senators vote, please. Yes or no. Your vote will be recorded, but we will not use the show of hands, well, for what may seem obvious reasons. Okay, so go ahead and vote yes or no, please. If you have a proxy, you will need to message Ms. Knoll with your proxy vote as well. Vote for yourself on the voting on the poll. Vote for your proxy via message.
Mandy, just for clarification, this is to vote on the refer.
Yes.
A yes would be we refer, a no would be do not refer.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mandy,
supposed to
there
see
are
the
no
poll.
proxies there, only alternates or members, so everyone only has one vote.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Are we supposed
The
to see?
lifelong debate about proxies versus alternates. I'm sorry. You only get one vote, so don't worry about the messaging. Thank you, former president, past president Ken McMillan.
I do not see a poll to vote.
It's under the participants.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Go to participants. Anyone else?
Did we just click no under reactions? Because I already clicked something under reactions.
Reaction.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
reaction. Okay.
But be aware that they don't last long.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Oh, no, that's not good.
It's not under reactions, it's under the participants. So if you click on participants and you see the list of everyone attending the meeting,
Yes.
the yes and the no will be right underneath that.
Yeah,
And that's where you.
I don't see
I
that.
do not see that.
I don't see that option.
Zoom has changed.
Yeah.
Zoom has changed it.
Yeah,
It's now under reactions.
Yeah, under reactions.
Okay.
Okay.
But then it doesn't stay long enough.
No, it doesn't stay long at all. So, but I'm
have
assuming
a-
it's being recorded somewhere.
I have a poll.
All
I
right.
see it under participants. I see it under participants but just a couple of 3 votes.
Yes.
There's 87 participants. There's everyone's name. And at the very bottom, there's raise hand, yes, no, go slower, go faster, and more.
Yeah, that has changed in some people's version of Zoom.
Yeah,
so
I
that
don't
it's not
see
under
it.
reactions and it doesn't stay there for long. So we need to somehow do it right.
We have a poll ready to go.
Okay, let's do that.
Are you?
Yay, perfect.
Okay, there. Thank you.
Ready, everyone.
Can we clarify whether we're voting for the original proposal or for the referring to a special committee?
We're voting on referring to a committee, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we got it.
Seem to be short a few votes.
Well, this 85 is for the total number of attendees, which are guests as well. So we need.
Has everyone voted that intended to vote?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess I should have said, has anyone been left out of voting that intended to vote? Remember, I buggered it up. You get one vote. Has everyone been able to secure that vote? All right, the motion to refer Senate Resolution 20-05 has passed. So we will take this up at our next FSCC meeting on this Thursday. I will ask Professor Tyrone to join us in moving this forward, and among others. I haven't got the attendees list quite yet, but we will put it together and move forward as per the decision of the Faculty Senate. All right, thank you.
Excuse me, Madam President, can I ask a quick question? Is it possible for the sponsors to withdraw the resolution at this time or not, just as a matter of process?
Let's see. I believe, well.
Can we table it?
Yeah, I think if you withdraw it, it may, it may
Kills it.
help someone do away with the subsidiary motion that we've just passed. So I think at this point, the best way is to move forward and let things play out as has been voted upon.
Well, I think the issue is that the committee was not interested in any other options at this time, and that the focus should be on anti-Blackness, and that doesn't appear to be what the interest is of this body at this time. And so we had our meeting and said that we would not proceed forward with it if this was the outcome. And so I'm asking if it's possible, regardless of what you decided in terms of moving it to the committee, whether or not we can just withdraw it, which is what we said that we would do. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Professors Cheney and Wiley.
Okay, yes, you can withdraw the resolution if you.
And I would ask the professors who sponsored it to do just that. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
On behalf, okay, may I speak, Mandy, Madam President?
Of course.
Okay, I'm sorry. On behalf of the Black Student Athlete Association and Professors Finley and Martin and the Diversity Roadmap Committee on Curriculum Diversity, Dr. Cheney and I will withdraw the resolution because the purpose of the resolution was to address what is a glaring and obvious issue in Louisiana, in the nation, and specifically at LSU and even at the University Lab School, and that is to confront anti-Blackness. I'm a diverse individual. I believe in diversity, but that was not the purpose and that was not the intent of this resolution. So we withdraw this resolution, and we're happy to work on something else that someone else may propose.
All right, the resolution is withdrawn. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, and that is resolution 21-01, formation of an ad hoc committee to develop a comprehensive framework for open access publishing at LSU. Professor Hoffman, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, very good. I cede the floor.
Okay. Would you like me to read the resolution?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. It's great to see you. I have been to the Senate many years and I'm very honored to be back. I'm currently chair of the Library Advisory Committee, and I have with me here today four other representatives, Morgan Kelly, Senlin Chen, Louis Cooper-Rushing, and Stanley Wilder, the Dean of the Library. All of them are here as well, and we are happy to take your questions and address them as best as we can. So with no further ado, let's move into reading the resolution. Susanna, would you like to share it or should I?
Oh, I can pull it up, no problem.
All right. Very good. So, formation of Ad-Hoc committee to develop a comprehensive framework for open access publishing at LSU, sponsored by the Faculty Senate Library Advisory Committee. Whereas LSU is, according to its mission statement, committed to using its extensive resources to solve economic, environmental, and social challenges. And whereas according to the Strategic Plan 2025, LSU aspires to be a catalyst for transformation, a force for good that changes lives and makes significant positive impact on the world around us. And whereas the federal memorandum increasing access to the results of federally funded scientific research stipulates that government-funded research be made available to and useful for the public, industry, and the scientific community alike, resulting in the requirement of federal funding agency to make research findings available through open access platforms. And whereas the Coalition is a corporation of leading European research institutions and organizations under the auspices of the European Commission and the European Research Council, pledges in their Plan S, with effect from 2021, all scholarly publication on the results from research funded by public or private grants provided by national, regional, and international research councils and funding bodies must be published in open access journals on open access platforms or made immediately available through open access repository without embargo. And whereas the current COVID-19 pandemic demonstrates with unprecedented urgency for the urgency for open access science, showing that it is unethical to bar potentially life-saving research findings and data behind paywalls, and that instead new findings must be made immediately available, not just to the scientific community, but also to the larger public, as people, governments, and healthcare workers in every part of the world are in dire need of evidence-based, scientifically proven information to protect themselves and others from a formerly unknown and in many cases deadly disease. And whereas for-profit publishing corporations such as Elsevier or Springer have in recent years driven up the subscription costs for scientific journals to the point where even well-funded research libraries struggle to pay, and individual readers are strongly deterred by annual costs of up to $20,000 per journal. And whereas journal subscriptions constitute by far the biggest item in the budget of any research library, and steep annual inflation adjustments, 5% at LSU and up to 6% nationwide, rapidly exacerbate the strains libraries already struggle with, as library budgets around the country are, for the most part, flat or diminishing. And whereas many publishers have made open access publishing available on the condition that authors pay article processing charges, APC, in the case of Elsevier, in the range of $150 to $5,900 per article. And whereas APCs are not necessarily and rarely in full covered by research grants. And whereas experts warn that APCs create an unwarranted burden for individual researchers, noting that for graduate students trying to publish 2 articles in 1 year, the cost can easily amount to more than a quarter of their annual income. And whereas the Chronicle of Higher Education reports that some open access journals have gone so far as to require copies of personal bank statements from graduate students before even considering an APC fee reduction for them. And whereas a comprehensive study by the Max Planck Society concludes that a large-scale transformation of the current corpus of scientific subscription journals to an open access business model is possible at no additional cost to research institutions if, in a wide-spanning international effort, the money currently locked in the journal subscription system were to be withdrawn and repurposed for open access publishing services. And whereas the Max Planck Society modeled how research institutions can use transformative agreements in journal subscriptions, such that subscription fees to journal grant affiliated researchers not just access to the content, but also coverage of the APCs for publication in these open access journals. And whereas the LSU Library was able to procure in 2020 a transformative agreement with the American Chemistry Society, under which the library's journal subscription automatically covers 28 APCs for LSU researchers. And whereas the raw map that tracks open access policies around the world lists 79 research institutions in the United States and 834 worldwide that already have implemented open access policy, among them peer institutions to LSU, such as the University of Florida, the University of Kansas, Kansas State University, or the University of Kentucky, and similar large state universities, such as Oregon State University or Penn State University. And whereas open access policy encourage members of the respective research institutions to seek out open access publication forums, define which standards the institution wishes to support with respect to principles and practices of open access publishing agreements, provide guidelines to authors in identifying and avoiding predatory open access publishing entities, enable researchers to make informed decisions about their open access publishing options, and generally serve as institutional roadmaps in a changing publishing landscape. And whereas the LSU Library's Open Access Author Fund, which normally supports roughly 20 to 25 faculty members, staff members, or graduate students every year with up to $1,500 to cover APCs of publications in fully open access peer-reviewed journals, has already seen a substantial increase in requests this year. And whereas LSU faculty already serve in editorial roles on open access journals for preeminent publishers, including PLOS, PRJ, Frontiers, and Hindawi, and can attest that open access scholarly publication is as rigorous and comprehensive as traditional publication models. And whereas open access publishing platforms often enable researchers to retain copyright on their publications and may offer to authors new metrics to measure the impact of their scholarship, which can serve as supporting evidence in tenure and promotion cases. Therefore, be it resolved that LSU live up to its aspiration of being a catalyst for transformation that positively impacts the world around us by modeling a sustainable and innovative open access publishing policy, and thereby productively contributing to the global transformation of the publishing industry that is already well underway. And be it further resolved that an ad hoc committee be formed and charged with the task of drafting a comprehensive open access publishing policy that provides a robust regulatory and budgetary framework for open access publications by LSU faculty, staff, and students. And be it further resolved that this ad hoc committee consists of representatives from the Office of Finance and Administration, the Office of Research and Economic Development, the Faculty Senate Budget and Planning Committee, the Faculty Senate Library Advisory Committee, the administration of the LSU libraries, and the Faculty Senate Executive Committee. And be it last resolved that the ad hoc committee closely collaborate with the Dean of the Library in identifying both short-term and long-term strategies for repurposing or redirecting existing funds to ensure that individual authors at LSU are never forced into subsidizing open access publications of their own research with personal funds.
All right, thank you, Professor Hoffman. Is there a motion to move this resolution into discussion?
So moved.
Okay, Professor King, and a second.
Second.
Okay, Professor Cook. And discussion.
Okay, Professor Cook here, since I was the one that seconded it. I agree with the concept of open journal. It is fantastic. It is a wonderful idea. It's just that I think if we do this, we also have to basically have discussions about exactly how tenure and promotion are done. Because certain fields do not have that access journals. Other times you want a diversity or a larger swath in journals you can publish in to get your word out there and your name out there. So if we basically put the onus on the fact that they must publish in open access journals, that could limit career progression at LSU drastically.
I'm sorry, I think there's a misunderstanding. We are in no way suggesting that there is an obligation to publish in open access journals. We are merely trying to create options and opportunities for those who wish to do so.
Okay, and I took advantage of one of my recent publications. Number two, if you get money for some federal funding agencies such as NIH, they have their own database. Whatever paper you publish, you must put it into their repository that anybody in the world can look at. And I know that NSF is looking at this as well, where when I have publications, I must put into an NSF repository as well. So I don't know if you talk to some of the funding agencies as well on exactly how they're handling it, that this sort of needs to be much more of a unified than institute by institute. There are a lot of funding agencies that are requiring this, and they have the power to require it from the publishers.
Yes, you're right that some funding agency may or may not require this, but the publishers are not necessarily under any obligation to then allow you to also publish with them. So there are a number of conflicts that can arise because of copyright issues.
On that, if you get NIH funding, NIH owns the copyright, and the publishers do not argue with them. They've not argued, and I don't think they have a legal right to argue. Any paper I publish in the NIH goes up on their website regardless of what journal I publish in.
Yes, but that's after the original publication, right, Professor Cook? So the cost of the initial publication is still borne by the investigator.
Yeah, and that doesn't solve the conundrum that we have tried to outline here, which is that there are a number of journals that require APCs, and that these APCs can be very substantial. And as of now, there is no unified institutional approach to how to cover these APCs. So a lot of people may find themselves in a situation where if they want to publish, they have to pay. And what they have to pay may be very substantial. And this, so I'm glad that that you have a good experience with the NIH, but that does not solve the problem in general.
Okay, most in my field, the scientific journals, except for page charges, a few of them, you do not need to pay for, and it must be APC. So okay.
There's a lot of variation in different fields. The article that I quoted from in the Curricular of Higher Education, for example, was specifically taking examples from economics.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Gundala, may I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Yes, hi. The very last sentence where you say authors are never forced into subsidizing open access publications of their research with personal funds. First of all, are there people who use personal funds for this? And second, do you mean to say personal research funds or personal pocket funds?
No, I do mean, I need to mean personal pocket funds. And yes,
okay.
The worry is, and there is debate about it online, that especially people who do not have personal research funds,
yes.
Of those there are many in the scientific world, they will, when met with the choice of publishing or not publishing, they may actually choose to use their personal.
I can imagine that. I see.
That's precisely what I meant.
Yeah. Okay. And to follow up on that, would you so is the idea that research grant funds should be used for this or not, or that it should somehow come from the university supporting it on its own?
Okay, so so Stephen, this is a very good question. So we do not have one idea how to address this problem, which is precisely the reason why we're suggesting there needs to be a committee, because we, as a library committee, we cannot solve it. It's too complex. There are too many factors playing into it.
Yes.
Now, yes, if there are research grants that cover it, that is great. But you have to keep in mind, there are a large number of people who will write publications that are not funded.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Yes, of course. And I don't even know how, I mean, certainly I think in mathematics, it's not easy to get that from NSF or whatever to have them pay for that kind of thing.
And we polled in our group, we polled sort of what everybody's experience. So the library committee has representatives from the different colleges, and we polled, so what's everybody's experience? And some reported that yes, the APC was at least partially covered. Others reported that it was not. So apparently there again there are a lot of differences.
I understand. Yeah, thank you, and I really appreciate your work on this, because I think we do need to go that direction. However we do it, we need to push that way.
Okay, Professor Kelly.
I'm sorry. I just meant mainly for my comments to go in the chat. I just wanted to sort of summarize that I think the core issue we're trying to address here is the relative allocation of funds and sort of university resources to supporting the journal fees for closed access journals versus potentially supporting APC charges to support open access. So it's sort of a question of which publication model we are supporting more with resources that go towards one publishing model or the other.
Yes, thank you, Morgan. Yeah, so the transformation that we're describing is that there is a movement underway to not fund publications by paying to journals for subscriptions, but rather to help authors bring their content into the journal in the first place and use that as the point where the funding goes. But this transformation, as I said, it is underway, but it's nowhere near completion. And one way or another, we are convinced that LSU needs to find its place in this process.
All right, thank you very much. Additional discussion, questions for Professor Hochman, comments, suggested revisions. All right, well, this concludes the discussion. We will move forward with our meeting in February with the second reading and a vote. Thank you, Professor Hochman.
You're welcome.
All right, and as our final act for the day, we have some very most excellent volunteers who have volunteered for the Budget and Planning Advisory Committee, the Faculty Adjudication Committee, and the Faculty Appeals Board. To be clear, the adjudication is distinct from the Appeals Board. There was some confusion over that earlier, well, last year and perhaps earlier in this year. The Adjudication Committee is to investigate, hear all sides, and resolve all issues faculty, be it with the department head, among faculty, on occasion the obstacles that one has experienced in their tenure journey, etc. The Appeals Committee, on the other hand, will be a group, a collection of our esteemed faculty who will serve just that purpose, to hear faculty appeals, primarily to the provost. So I just wanted to make that clear, that distinction. Now we thank all those who have volunteered. You have received the personal statements from most of them. And so we, in some cases, we have exactly the number of nominees as we do positions, but nonetheless, they are elected positions and require endorsement of the Faculty Senate. So first up is the Budget and Planning Advisory Committee. Yes? Mm-hmm. Okay, we have one nominee, Professor Shipman, and he is on the, he's been nominated for the open position on that committee. Professor Shipman, if you want to, well, this is a bit of a conundrum. If you want to step away momentarily, we can call you back for the next.
Well, if I could, I don't know if you want me to make a statement. There's only one person. And so this is I was expecting, so I was expecting there would be 10 possibilities. And then since my statement was so unenthusiastic that I certainly would not be voted in. But,
cool.
Yeah, but I guess that's how it is.
Well,
I mean,
thank you, Professor Shipman, and we are grateful for your service. All right.
Would you want me to step out?
Well, yes, perhaps.
So actually leave the meeting.
Here's an ice for a few minutes so everyone can vote.
Okay.
We're still working through a few
So
things.
there's no way to step out without actually leaving the meeting, right? Okay.
No, they just need to click on this link.
Okay.
The Qualtrics link, and it
Okay.
can be done outside of the meeting.
Okay, well, it's fine. We can advise you of the results. Please use the Qualtrics link. So that Ms. Knoll says you can stay. Oh, he's gone. Okay, sorry. We're falling back. Okay, please endorse Professor Shipman, or if you prefer, through the Qualtrics, and Ms. Knoll will get your results. And while you're voting, I'll move on in the interest of time. Next up is the Faculty Adjudication Committee. We have 2 nominees for 1 position. You have their statements there in front of you. And they are Professors Blessinger and Professors Gaglio. And so, are you sending the next? Okay, and Susanna has sent you the next Qualtrics to go ahead and vote. And last on the ballot are the nominees for the 12 nominees for 12 open positions on the Appeals Committee. Okay, Professor Shipman is back. So please endorse those nominees if it is what you wish to do. Before the close of the meeting, we do need to name the members. Yes.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Poor Ms. Knoll, it's like flying a 747 over here. She's trying to keep track of me, run all these things, get the messages. It's awesome to watch, but I don't envy her in any way. And I'm very grateful for her versatility and fortitude, to say the least. So if we have a few hiccups now and then, I take full responsibility because I'm driving her nearly mad with everything that I've got going on. Okay, do we?
Stephen Shipman is going to be on the committee for the budget and planning.
All right, Budget and Planning Advisory Committee. Professor Shipman is officially elected. We will advise the chair of that committee, Professor Shipman, who I hope is back on the call, and we look forward to your service.
Still waiting on some of the others.
Okay.
Just be a minute.
All right, well, while we're waiting on that, I want to thank all of you for your service today, for your candid discussion. I think all feelings, I think everything was very professional and genuine, and I look forward to more discussions such as this.
Hey, Mandy?
Yes?
Ken reminded me as VP on parliamentary.
Yes?
So he discovered, and I looked it up on Robert's rules, that if a resolution is withdrawn,
Yes.
the chair has to announce that and then ask for unanimous consent for the resolution to be withdrawn. If anybody rejects the withdrawal of the resolution, then you can put it to a vote as to whether it should be withdrawn or not.
Very good. Thank you, Professor King. So when we have finished, we do follow Robert's rules, and I appreciate the opportunity to learn at every juncture. Okay, so as soon as we conclude our committee votes, we will have another vote.
All of the 12 candidates for appeals board have been nominated, have been accepted.
Okay. The 12 candidates for the appeals board, Professor Barrera, Professor Brooks, Professor Porcos, Professor Desmond, okay, Professor Estanislao Barrera, Professor Jeffrey Brooks, Professor Elizabeth Provost, Professor Michael Desmond, Professor Levant Curricular, Professor Paul I believe, I'm so sorry, Professor Lynn Kennedy, Professor Juan Martinez, Professor Chad Seifried, Professor Carlos Lawson, Professor Jim Stoner, and Professor Sabrina Taylor are confirmed on the appeals board. All right, last one.
Kelly Blessinger, depending on if there are any more votes, she is on the education.
Okay, pending, well, I think voting is closed. So we, Professor Kelly Blessinger is the new member of the Faculty Adjudication Committee. Thank you for your time and service and patience. Okay. So what we are now considering is withdrawal of resolution 2005, confronting anti-Blackness by ensuring undergraduate access to anti-racist curricular offering. As I understand it, according to the parliamentarian, if there is any vote against withdrawing the resolution, then it must go to a vote of the Senate as a whole. So I'm asking you now, sorry.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm asking you now, if you have a poll in? I can make one. Okay. Poor Miss Knoll, I'm telling you. Okay. She is
Mandy, sorry, this is Meredith Bellman. Before we vote, there's some questions in the chat that I'm confused, and I think some others are as well.
It's my understanding that if the resolution is withdrawn, then there's no need for the committee anymore, because it was related to referring the resolution to the committee.
Right. And so since it is subsidiary, it is, well, it doesn't exist if the resolution is withdrawn.
And Mandy, this is Theta Daniels-Reese. I've got a question too, just to make sure. So if the resolution is withdrawn, the committee that was just mentioned, that refers to the committee suggested in the referral, the subsidiary resolution. So it would basically mean withdrawing everything. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, and then in turn, if there is any objection to withdrawal, that would force a vote, which would then be recorded as to whether or not this body wished to withdraw the resolution or not. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Thank you for that speculation, Professor.
Mandy, but can I clarify a little bit? Doesn't it make sense, even if the resolution is withdrawn, to still have the committee that would still consider a no? Okay. All right.
Well, I don't know if it makes sense.
Because it was specifically for that resolution.
No.
If I could speak, Mandy, I believe what Stephen is asking, which, you know, logically, it would make sense to keep a committee so that you can further discuss other possibilities.
Sense. Right.
But in this case, with the Roberts Rule of Order, once the original resolution is withdrawn, the subsidiary committee that was going to discuss the resolution and try to create something else goes away. However, Dan can bring his own resolution forth with a new resolution later.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Indeed. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Professor Wiley, yes.
You're welcome. I learned all of that in 4-H.
All right.
Okay.
So
Mandy, are you asking first for if there are any objections to withdrawing the resolution, and in which case, if there are, we would then vote, and that vote would be recorded, as I mentioned earlier?
Correct.
I see Joan shaking her head.
Yep. Okay. Are there any, well, I don't think we need a poll for that. Are there any objections to withdrawal of the resolution? All right. Professor Daniels Race votes against, objects to withdrawal of the resolution.
And there were a couple of others if you are taking specific track, but if it's just informally so.
Only takes one. All right. So now we need to vote as a Senate on whether or not to withdraw the resolution. Okay. Is that clear? So
The
in the
resolution?
poll,
Okay.
yes, withdraw the resolution. No, do not withdraw the resolution.
Where are you sending us a little connection?
She's typing like a mad person, even as we speak.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, to withdraw Faculty Senate Resolution 20-05. No, do not withdraw Faculty Senate Resolution 20-05.
Professor Veldman has a question. Do you vote no?
No, if the committee is withdrawn, there is no subcommittee. I'm sorry, my goodness. If the resolution is withdrawn, there is no subcommittee.
No, I understand that. My question was, if the resolution is not withdrawn, then is there a sub?
All right, parliamentarian, vice.
Yes, because if it's not withdrawn, it still exists and would be sent to the committee.
So yes, if it is not withdrawn, the referral motion still stands.
Did the survey get sent yet? Because I don't see anything.
Yeah, was that, Mandy, one more clarification. I'm sorry, I just want to be absolutely clear in this very important issue. So
Yes,
regardless of referral to committee or not, which as I just understood means that that will take place. That was not my original understanding. But nevertheless, this will be a vote recorded to say whether we as a body, individuals representing our constituents and so forth, are voting to keep the resolution or are voting no to, or excuse me, we're voting yes to withdraw the resolution and we're voting no to keep it. And I'll just state for the record, I was not clear on if the resolution is not withdrawn, then therefore it goes to another committee. I took this simply the resolution in of itself without the attachment or amendment of a subsidiary committee. But so be it. But that is, I'm just pointing out that that was not my original understanding of the vote in this case.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you for pointing that out. If you vote to support withdrawal of the resolution, all subcommittees are null and void. If you vote against withdrawing the resolution, the decision of the Senate to send it to committee stands. Professor Daniels Race, you're welcome to change your vote if you wish.
Okay, I'm looking for the poll thing. Sorry. Is it going to pop up on the screen or do you have to cut and paste or?
Just have her message me privately.
Just message your vote to Susanna.
Oh, okay, thanks. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, when we have okay, there seems to be a lot of confusion, so we'll need to do the poll again.
Okay.
Okay, one more time. We are voting at this time to allow the withdrawal of resolution 20-05. If you vote yes, it is withdrawn and there is no subcommittee. If you vote no, it stands. It is not allowed to be withdrawn and it is referred to committee. Is that clear?
Yes.
That is clear. Before you all vote, Mandy, may I please speak?
Okay.
Very briefly, Dr. Martin and Dr. Finley will not participate in any program that changes their curricula. So I just want you to be aware of that. Dr. Cheney and myself are absolutely exhausted. We have done invisible work in the name of diversity for months and years, and we cannot continue forth. We cannot expend any more energy on this particular resolution. So I just want everyone to be clear, I will not be participating on that subcommittee. I am tired. I am watching my baby play ball via my cell phone while I participate in this procedure. So I just need everyone to be aware and that it is on record. Doctors Martin and Finley will not participate in any kind of a program that puts their class in a menu of classes. They have stated that to us strongly. They asked us to sponsor what the Black student athletes wanted, and that's what we have done.
Okay.
After that, even if it goes to committee, I will not be co-sponsoring or working on this.
Okay, all right, thank you, Professor Wiley. All right, please vote on the issue before us. We appreciate that, Professor Wiley, and we are also grateful for all the work that you've put into this. And we recognize that. Is there anyone unable to vote? I never know when I'm muted and when I'm not. I just sort of play it by ear. All right. There seems to be some votes.
We don't have a quorum.
All right. We need additional votes. All right. For those of you out there who have not yet voted, please do so. Okay, good.
Yeah, we have one now.
All right, quorum was reached. The vote is to allow the resolution to be withdrawn. So that means that there will be no subcommittee. I'm very grateful for the participation today. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. And I appreciate the candor and dedication of our faculty. I in no way feel, please respect your colleagues, their beliefs and their opinions, and in no way should this reflect on any single faculty member. Though we are very, very grateful for all the effort, for the discussion in my history in the Faculty Senate, this is certainly groundbreaking. And for that, I'm grateful. All right. If there is no additional discussion or any reason not to adjourn, I will hear a motion to adjourn.
We need a first and a second.
A first and a second, or
Houston.
Alternatively, if no one is opposed, we adjourn this meeting. All right. All right. All those, anyone opposed to adjourn? Our sound system leaves something to be desired here. Thank you all. Thank you for your participation and for your endurance. Have a good evening.